Hey there, Forge Costanzas. How you doing? Introductions. It's been said many times that art is a field where you don't really need a degree, you don't need certification, all you need is a strong portfolio. Proof that you can do the work is pretty self-evident. And sure, I think there's things like being an effective communicator and having decent people skills that are also needed. But a strong portfolio makes it so someone that's looking for work to be done can tell that you can do it. In this video, I want to bust the top 3 myths about building a portfolio and equip you with some advice to guide you as you build your own. I also thought it'd be fun and insightful for me to critique and update my own portfolio. Now, to have a portfolio, you need a website, and that's why today's video is brought to you by me, who pays for Squarespace. Oh shoot, that would have been a good idea. This is kind of a video years in the making, but that isn't really something that deserves any praise. Like many art-related projects, I started making it 15 months later, and since I recorded the initial part of this video, I've made quite a bit of work, and dare I say it's improved. So it'll be fun to say goodbye to a lot of the stuff that's been in there for the better part of a few years, and introduce some of the stronger work as well. So let's talk about you and your work with the top 3 portfolio building myths. The first being, if you build it, they will come. Having a good portfolio is really helpful, but I think too many artists set up shop, they finish their portfolio, and then they kind of kick back and wait for the jobs to start rolling in. That might be a little bit of an exaggeration, but that would be kind of like letting a stack of business cards sit in a drawer for a year and then wonder why no one's contacting you. Here's the thing, the web has become pretty centralized toward social platforms in the last decade, and so less and less people are just going to happen across your website. But barring that, still, I think that a portfolio pairs well with activity. Art posted recently, active work on a project. It helps clients see that you are currently working, whether it's for client work or your own stuff, instead of them wondering, wait, when was this thing last updated? Activity is also simply the way that new eyes will get on your work, whether it be from social media or elsewhere. For me, weekly videos and all the places that I share my art do a lot to help new people learn about what I do. To bust this myth further, it helps not just to wait for the work to come to you, but for you to go to it. Now that your portfolio is made, you'll be able to show very visually oriented clients, why yes, I can do something like what you're asking. The second myth is that I need to put it all in there. Less is really more when it comes to portfolios, and you want to do some filtering when it comes to quality. But you also don't want to throw every kind of work you've ever done in and expect the client to parse out what you're capable of. Now, some will say puritanical things like, if you want to be a character designer, only put character design work in. And I think there's a good nugget in that. But I'd say, more generally, put the work in that you want to be hired for. If you, like me, probably wouldn't get too excited to work on a gritty military animation project, and it's a little outside of your wheelhouse, you don't have to include examples of that just because you've seen other legit artists do so. When it comes to the kind of work, I found that it at least helps to break the work into categories. That way you're organized, and it makes a little more sense to someone looking only to hire you for animation, let's say. Hey look, here's the section of their animation, thank goodness. The third myth is that fan art won't get you hired. Now, while there is some nuance to this and a degree of professionality where the Venn diagram of fan art and portfolio start to differ, this myth simply isn't true. Lately, as so much IP continues to get rebooted and spun off, longtime fans end up getting hired because of their fan art. Plus, if your skill is in rendering really dynamic, photorealistic paintings, and you've done, let's say, a really nice painting of Hey Arnold, that shows really clearly what value you provide, and especially to people that recognize Arnold. This reminds me to say that case studies and projects that work as a proof of concept are just as valuable in showcasing what you're capable of beyond an image of the finished project. So let's take a step back to May 2020 and look at the portfolio that I had then. Some of the things that I said during this recording align with my goals for my work then, and some of those things have changed. I think what's important about that is that a portfolio can be a fluid thing, it's there to work for you, and nothing there is set in stone. Okay, so taking a look at what I have right now, the last time that I updated this was about August or September of last year. So especially through all the stuff that I've made through Biko's backpack, I have a lot of new work. I have a lot of sort of level ups artistically since then that kind of render a lot of these pieces obsolete. There's also a few new things that I want to make that this portfolio is lacking right now from the perspective of what would look good from a hiring perspective. All right, so a few things in here. First of all, we'll get to the individual pieces in a minute, but the current layout is a section of character design and then a section of just more general illustration work. And I'd like to add a section for animation work. It's a little bit of a balance that you want to strike where you don't want to overwhelm a potential client with too much work. So we'll sort things out so it's only kind of the cream of the crop that I keep in the portfolio. All right, first off here is our beggar bard character and her cat, I think Goodwin. It's a maybe to keep. It's very over rendered and a lot of muddiness, especially in the legs, but then like a lack of detail in certain spots. So I want to do a few other things as far as human design. This is a very old cast of characters called Dire Knots. I think I'll keep this though. I might even develop some turnarounds or something. This is the kind of thing, the kind of design that would work well for like a TV animation or rigged puppet animation. The little Myra character kind of predates Parcel. Very similar. I would have to kind of figure her cloak out a little bit better too. This Wanderlumen is an outdated design. I had a crisis with him over the years. I'll replace that with the card illustration with the glow pups and the vest. This bard is actually in here twice, and I guess I just liked the sort of stark stage lighting that he has going on, but there's a lot that's kind of whack here, so it's coming out. This is the Deputy Timekeeper from Parcel. I do like this. It's a maybe. There's a few things that I'd probably clean up or even kind of redraft. This is a Pangolin from Shackleton. It's a maybe, I guess. Mega Man and Proto Man redesign, also a maybe. I'm gonna keep this Timekeeper turnaround and maybe throw the chibi version of him in there as well. This koala is like a scrap maybe. It's just so old. It's really rough rendering. It's just like one multiply layer of purple. This was a Twitch mascot commission, and I might keep it because it's so simple. It's just sort of like a little bit of a quicker turnaround design for people looking for this kind of thing. Jonadab. This is like a maybe keep. The render is kind of dull, but it works. I like the sort of feeling of the character and the piece. This is an old Jacqueline, and probably one of my favorite pieces currently is the Jack art that I have here. So that's going to go in this place, and I've got some other versions of her, possibly a character sheet and some animation of her for the animation section. Here's that bard again. It's from a banner that didn't really work, and it's a maybe to keep this individually. I would like to re-illustrate him soon, though. This is an old Koji from that same banner. I have a new one, so this is a toss. This is an old Biko before he was Biko. There's a really improved version to swap in, so this is also a toss. Alright, this is the mascot that I made for a Photoshop tool so that people could post to Dribble in their very restrictive dimensions. I try not to cause like a lot of drama here, unless it's Peppa Pig, but Dribble was completely complicit in this guy who harassed me through their platform for months about how I was cyber hacking him because I happened to name a character something the same as his company name that he had apparently spent months thinking up. Man, honestly, like the ego on that guy was insane, and Dribble did absolutely nothing to stop this big executive dude from harassing a penniless at the time character designer. So this is a toss. No one uses Dribble, and thanks for nothing. Sorry, having a little PTSD there. This is a Lobster Knight that I drew on Twitch. I'd have to fix the line art color if I wanted to keep it. It's a maybe. I don't think there's anything special about it, but people seem to like it when I made it. I don't know. I'm still thinking about how fruitless it is to try and get clients on Dribble. This is a piece that I called Clem's Confectionery, and I actually redid the Clem, the hummingbird design, on the Playing the Light box last year. So this is a swap out. I still like the background, and I definitely do need to do more props and environment work along these lines. This is Frog Glove Frog Girl. It's a very old sort of like skill level fluke for the time, where I somehow made something better than I generally could at the time. So now I've got this sort of bucktooth redhead girl character 3 times over in this portfolio, so I think it's time to put FGFG to rest. Now we're in the illustration section. This is the Super Nice Bros print, and the fun thing about this was I did a bunch of planning ahead of time of what characters I would use so that I could utilize a limited palette. So it's actually only like 5 or 6 colors and then a dark and light variant on those colors in this piece, so that the illustration doesn't get so muddy despite all of the different characters in here. And I was also so sure that Gino was going to get in the game that he was actually who Ness was talking to originally before the Piranha Plant. So I think I'll keep this in here for now. This is the Donkey Kong Country redesign pass that I did. There's some really muddy rendering here, mainly because it was rushed, but also people were so incredibly mean to me about this attempt at a redesign, so I don't know why I should keep it. The redesigns are fun, but people don't really ever understand that I'm not trying to replace their precious existing designs. They see what I'm doing as like an attack and get really incredibly nasty. Here's a few pieces from a series that I did integrating invisible creatures into photos of folks that I know. That bottom left creature is actually called a glow pup before the Wonderlumen companions. So this is a few that I would probably redo, but ultimately this series meant a lot to me, so I think I'll keep it in here. This is the cover and a page to parcel. It's good to keep. I want to do more comics. I just need like a 9th day of the week full of energy to draw so I can get all the things I'm trying to done. Here's Tristan. So I never talked about it publicly, but Tristan actually passed a few months ago. So his poor little galaxy-eyed man is put to rest. I miss him. I'm gonna keep this. I still want to do like a little portrait of him to remember him. A very good friend. I have a few more Animal Crossing things that I could add in here. These are okay. Maybe I'll sort of populate the same image with 9 instead of just 2 sets of 2. Yeah, sorry for any bummers in that walkthrough. I'm not a very big fan of the past in general, and I'm always looking to the future. All right, cool. So step 1, I'm going to take out the pieces that I said I would. Step 2, I'm going to add in some new designs, including an animation section. It's not much, but it at least shows that you're versatile, and I've kind of found a place as a generalist that kind of gets me the most work. Step 3, make a few new things especially for this portfolio. Also, I need more world building around characters, like props, environments, buildings, and stuff like that. And I need to show some expressions and turnarounds a little bit more, kind of show my work a little bit more. And I might split certain characters, let's say, into 2 images in a row, 1 more gestural and expressions, and 1 more spreadsheetish construction. Also, I may not get to it this time, but I'd really like to have some more storyboarding work, or at least more sequential art stuff, because I feel like I have it in me to do, but every time there's a position for that, I can't quite show it. That's like a constant thing with job openings, is that I never have work I'm happy with to show, so hopefully this whole process will help that. So, time to get to work. This might take a while, and I'll see you in a few days or weeks or something whenever I actually complete this aspect of the project. So like I mentioned, a lot of the things that I talked about at that time were oriented toward the kind of work that I wanted to get. I wanted to add an animation section. I wanted to continue including Animal Crossing commission examples. And while I wouldn't necessarily turn down commission work nowadays at the right price, and if I have scheduling availability, it's not what I'm actively seeking out. So now, as I have time to primarily work online with a select few clients and with my own projects, I can kind of pick and choose who I work with a lot more. 2 things that I said then I do still need to include. One is more tertiary visual development work, props and environments. That would be helpful, I just haven't been able to practically focus on that kind of work. The second is a section for animation work, and I do have an idea for that. Since I am currently working on the pilot for Stormfellers, where I am doing all of the art and animation, it functions really well as a case study. The same with the game projects that I'm working on that include animation. So since I really only want to take on my own animation work, given how time-consuming it is for right now, I'm in no rush to include that section, but I will down the line. It also helps keep the portfolio more simplistic. So this is what I ended up with, and immediately the work is just so much more vibrant. I've taken advantage of the monthly paintings for Pico's backpack trading cards, and some of the skill building from those have really paid off. These qualify a bit more as illustrations though, so down the page I have some of the simple one-offs, the poses, and the turnarounds for characters. This may not be the exact way that you should lay your portfolio out, but make sure that it suits your purposes. For example, I have to think about why someone is coming to my portfolio page. There are potential clients for one thing, but there may simply be interested fans, or people that want to learn more about my characters, or want to get into Biko's backpack, or people who want to take the Learn Character Design course and go, well wait, can he put his money where his mouth is? From here, I'd still love to put together some case study pages, do some writing that goes more in depth, but honestly, there's plenty of me talking about the thought process and making of these pieces on this channel that I'm in no rush. I've been a working artist for almost 15 years now, and trying to show everything I've ever done or can do is not going to fit on one digestible page. I've done some things that I'm proud of. This is not necessarily a portfolio that shows off my full range, but it does, I think, show my strengths. And maybe that's the best way to approach portfolios. You can get my course Learn Character Design over at learncharacterdesign.com. It's over 18 hours of a comprehensive character design curriculum, and you can get Biko's backpack, which is basically a new hard enamel pin and foil trading card of the month club over at patreon.com/bageldenizen. This is what this month's looks like. I have some really exciting news to share with you that I don't think I'm allowed to share until the 16th. And today's, it's going up on the 15th. So make sure you're following me at BagelDenizen on Instagram, Twitter, Twitch, and TikTok. I will share the news on at least one of those places. Thank you so much for watching, and have fun creating. Question for you guys down in the comments. What's the weirdest thing that some random guy harassed you about for 2 months on Dribble? And why was that a little cartoon pig that he thought was an attempt to cyber hack him? Really?